How's everybody doing? I'm back to ruffle some more feathers. It's what we'd like to do. Welcome back to Tilted Glory Gaming. We're going to talk about some, what do you say, pet peeves or things we don't agree with in Monster Hunter. A couple hot takes. Before we get into that, if you haven't already, please consider liking the video, subscribing, sharing it, and leaving a comment. We do a lot of videos here on the channel. Um, Usually about two a day, sometimes more, sometimes less, but usually two a day. So, with that said, let's get into it. Number one, bring underwater combat back. There is no reason underwater combat should have went away. Can you give me one? Oh, it didn't feel as good as on land combat. Well, no shit. You're in water, okay? You don't have your footing. It's not gonna feel as good. It's gonna feel floaty and kind of uh, like you're underwater. I think I think the biggest problem with underwater combat is they took it out. I think if they'd left it in the game, or if they'd continue to like improve upon it in the game, it would be much better. I think if underwater combat was in, Gen 3 like it was, and then continued throughout Monster Hunter, I think the underwater combat that we'd have now would be absolutely amazing. And I don't think it'll ever be amazing again, or to start, if people don't think it was before, without putting it in and going through the rough time of dealing with a little bit of floatiness, maybe not, the best, but just like the combat has for the rest of the game, it's not always felt the best. There's going to be quirks. You'll have that. But I think it should come back. Number two, staying with the third gen, bring back modular bowguns. Give me my medium bowgun back. You know how awesome it would be to use like the front of one monster's bowgun, the middle of another, the stock of another. That would be amazing. Think of all the customized customability, customizability. Yeah, that would bring to the weapon. Apparently, I can't talk today, so I'm sure someone will let me know about that. But imagine the different weapons you could make with that, the nuances. It'd be amazing. No downside. Just put it back. Put it back in the game. Let us have customizable bowguns. A barrel from Elatrion. A stock from freaking Raging Bracky. And, the middle part. I forget what they called it um, in the game. I'm pretty sure it was barrel stock and something else uh, from Fatalis, say. Freaking awesome. Next thing is kind of a hope more than a critic here. I'm hoping that the inclemency period of Wilds is akin to what I hear the different seasons were in DOS. Because I want seasons. I've never experienced seasons because I didn't get to play DOS or DOS, whatever you want to call it, which for those of you that don't know was the second generation of Monster Hunter. It was the first game in it, I believe, but it only came out in Japanese, at least as far as my awareness of it. It did not come out in English, that's for sure. I think there's some uh, emulators out there that you can make it English, but it was never natively in English, so never did play that. But I'm hoping that, we get something like Seasons. So, certain things or certain monsters are not available in inclemency, whatnot. I think they said something about honey being kind of like that in inclemency, but we'll have to see what the game brings for us and go from there. Next one, we're going to attack Rurikhan. Love you, Rory. We're not attacking Rory. We're just attacking his weapon. The gun lance is overpowered. It's not. It's not. That's not what we're saying. Um, I don't think there is a problem with gun lance. It is the shelling. I don't think shelling should do fixed damage. I think shelling should have to take in uh, hit zones for its damage. I think it should have to take into consideration attack and crit damage and everything else, uh, like every other weapon. And that'll fix the levels of gun lance. I think if you do that, you make a lot more gun lances more viable, and you don't have this whole well, it's not the top tier um, shelling type, so I'm not going to use it because it doesn't do as much damage. I think that fixes that issue completely there. So I would say fix shelling. It should not do straight damage, no matter where you hit a monster. You should not be able to hit a Latreon here in the head with a shell and do the same amount of damage as hitting it in the hind leg. So head to the hind leg should do massively difference in damage. Blah. I can't talk today. Next thing, bring back Styles. Why did Styles leave? I know why Styles left. It's a lot of work to put in each game. I get it. Um, but I'm sorry, that should be the norm. Styles should just be the straight up norm of what we have in Monster Hunter. At not all of them, maybe not all of them. So I can see and understand them not having alchemy as a style in Monster Hunter anymore because that was kind of out there. Um, although I can also see an argument for having it. But if you weren't going to have one of them, I think that'd probably be the one. Uh, but having the other ones, aerial style or guild style or adept style, I think it was called, those should all be in the game. Just bring them back. It's a lot of work, I understand, but it would be amazing. It should be the standard. That's all I'm saying. That should be the standard. Next, um, short hunts suck. Long hunts are where it's at. And I say that not as a difficulty thing. I say that as that's an us problem thing. I find I've ruined the game for myself plenty of times with chasing meta or chasing the optimal way to fight. Um, for instance, if you go through and look at my Fatalis hunts with Switch Axe, I did not fight Fatalis with ZSD spam because that's not fun to me. I know, I think it's Preach gave up on Fatalis because basically people were telling him ZSD spam is kind of cheating. And he was like, well, I don't really want to play it because it's kind of boring to me. You're telling me I can't play this way or else it's too easy, blah, blah, blah. I think we put too many restrictions on ourselves to play the quote unquote optimal way, and we kind of ruin the game for ourselves. At least, again, I know I've done it to myself. Maybe you like playing the optimal way. That's fine. Um, but as a community, we should be more okay with people, you know, oh, you took 15 minutes on that hunt. It only took me 7. Who cares? So long as you had fun. I like playing kind of like an in and out match with the monster, uh, where I'm dodging around and doing different stuff. Evade windows super awesome. Evade extender is super awesome. Obviously, playing Switch Axe. Um, level 1, you get a lot more from Evade extender than Evade window, but both are great skills. Along with Grinder, Grinder is a great skill. Now we're getting on to a different topic here, but um, you know, playing optimally isn't always the most fun way to play. So if you're not having fun, it may take longer to hunt a monster, but try doing something else. Try Try playing a weapon that's not optimal against that monster. Try um, playing in a way that's not quote unquote optimal, but lets you, continue moving. So something along that line would be like Kushala Daora. In World, you could basically headlock that thing with Greatsword. Basically, you just do a true charge slash and time it for when, as soon as it gets up. And if you had enough damage output, it would just topple over again. And you do it over and over and over again, and it'd be dead super quick. I know when I was going for the Platinum Trophy for World, when it first came out, I did Cluster Bomb and Sticky Bomb on Heavy Bowgun and just CC'd the thing to death. And you could get super quick hunts with that. It was not fun for me, but I also fought like 80 freaking Kushalas to get the gold crown for Kushala. It was the last monster I needed, so I was kind of over at that point. I was just wanting to get the hunts done. So, but as an overall thing, that's not a fun way to hunt the monster, at least to me. So I would never do that normally, only because I wanted the platinum trophy. Um, Basically, we're not robots. You're not doing a task run with yourself. You know, you're not hitting this button at this time to hit this button at this time. That's, I don't know. That's kind of a silly way to play, if you ask me. So hmm, maybe give something else a shot if you start getting bored or thinking that it's repetitive or, you know, you're not liking it for whatever reason. We should also bring back in quest subquests. And you might say, oh, we have subquests, blah, blah, blah. And you just don't, you know, engage with them, which I don't. I forget about it all the time. I forget to update my subquests and my bounties and whatnot. Um, but what I'm talking about is not that. I'm talking about in older generation games where it was, hey, break the horns of Teostra to, complete the optional subquest for this, and you get extra rewards. You get extra money, blah, blah, blah. I loved that. That was amazing. You used to be able to like end quests early, I believe, too, with that. I've never done that, but I think that was a thing. Um, Also, with that same kind of thing, uh, make me pay to take a quest and then give me the money back once the quest is completed. That's like I feel like that's more like a lore thing, but it's really fun. And I say that because I want to make it more agonizing for people. That's just me loving making things harder for people uh, in a in kind of a trolly way. I remember playing the first Monster Hunter back on PS2, and it was, you'd buy all this equipment, you could craft all this new equipment, and you were so excited, and then you realize, oh shit, I used all my money. I can't take a quest in one of these higher ranks because I have no money to post the quest. Because as the quests get, higher and higher, it becomes more money to, accept that quest. So you would end up going down and like collecting mushrooms or selling materials to be able to take on a quest. And it's that's fun. That's kind of trolly by the game, being like, nah, 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 nah. You need to pay us to take the quest, and then we'll give you the money back if you complete it. Oop, hit the mic. That's, I don't know. I like that kind of thing. It makes it more interesting and engaging. The next thing I've harped on before in a couple different videos, there is no reason for any weapon, great sword included, hammer included, any weapon. There's no reason ever that the best weapon is a non-elemental weapon. When you go into the game and they make it so that the non-elemental weapon does a substantial amount more damage than the elemental weapons, so it just doesn't make sense to take element, I think that's stupid. I think that's really stupid. You should always be thinking of the monster's elemental weaknesses to maximize your damage. You should not have to take elemental in for every monster, such as Elatrion, like we did. I mean, you don't have to. You can kill it with, you know, raw damage, but it's harder um, because you can't feint by anything other than Eschaton Judgment. Um, except for those people that are like super good at the game. I'm not one of them. I don't think I could ever beat Elatrion without Element. But max damage should be done by using Element. You should not have these weapons that are, oh, the best option is just take a blast weapon in. Even if the monster is not super weak to blast, just take a blast weapon in, do max damage, like Whirl and Iceborne were, up until Elatrion. Make Element stronger, make Element more reliant, make hunters more reliant on Element, make it matter. Next is kind of like a little thing. People like to give shit on Rise Sunbreak Lance or Gun Lance. They call it slap lancing when they aren't poking or they aren't doing for Gun Lance if they aren't doing shelling. I think slap lancing is fine. I don't see a problem with slap lancing. It's a different way to play the weapon. You may not enjoy that way, which is fine, but I don't think slap lancing is bad, and I don't think they should get rid of the slap movements either. I've heard people say that the movement on Lance, that the slap movement, they don't like that move, and they don't like that it's so strong. It's a big long pole, okay, that you're going to have a lot of leverage with. Slapping is absolutely going to do damage. It absolutely makes sense to do it. It's a way the weapon can be used. So, I don't know. That's a little tidbit that it's kind of a community thing rather than anything else. The next one is I'm kind of taking a side here on what weapon has the best, or not what weapon, what generation has the best combat, and I think it's Gen 5 because of Rise and Sunbreak. I think Rise and Sunbreak have the best fluidity in the combat of any Monster Hunter. I think a close number 2 would be either Generations Ultimate or Iceborne. Generations Ultimate because you have styles, so you can literally play in any style you want. If there's a particular way you want to play the weapon, I guarantee you there's a style that pertains to that way. But other than that, Rise Sunbreak, the fluidity is just amazing. And that could just be because it's a faster paced game, but I feel like that game is far superior in movement and fluidity in combat than anything else. For instance, switching from sword mode into axe mode for switch axe, you can rotate and change, not completely change direction, but you can rotate and like angle yourself in different ways during that move. Whereas the other games, it's just, nope, you're going straight. Whatever way that you started that movement is the way you're ending that movement. There's no, oh, I want to lean to the left a little bit to hit the monster. I want to lean to the right. No, it is, nope, just standard, straight ahead. And yes, I do have a notepad here for all these because I could not remember them. Next thing, attacking the old world hunters, which I am one of. So I will hold nothing back on this because I've been playing since 2004. So I think I have, the ability to talk about this freely, and y'all can't say shit about it. You can. I'll listen to anyone, on your opinions, but be respectful. Paintballing is not tracking. I've said this before in another video. Paintballing is not tracking. It's not. There's no tracking in that. There's no tracking in the old games. People saying that, oh, it's not hunting anymore because we're not paintballing. We don't track the monster anymore. Nope. Gen 5 was literally the first gen that we tracked the monster. The first gen. It was World Iceborne, not Sunbreak and Rise. Sunbreak and Rise, or Rise and Sunbreak, are not tracking. That's just straight garbage. I agree with that. But the old world was basically learn the mechanics of the game, learn where the monster is going to spawn, and go there. That's it. And then you put a paintball on, and then basically it's for like 5 minutes. It's like Rise Sunbreak. You just know where the monster is. I don't like that. That is not tracking. I will say it again. That is not tracking. That is not a hunting mechanic. The closest we came was World Iceborne, where you had to find footprints from the monsters, or like Anjanath, you would find like mucus on the walls and stuff like that. You'd find different tracks of the monster to figure out where it was. And the scout flies would lead you to the next one and the next one and the next one. That's great. Now, take that and introduce paintball with that, and I think you have the perfect tracking system. Rather than just knowing where the monster is now, the footprints will show up on the map. Not even on the map, just like in front of you. They'll like highlight like they do in World. And then you will paintball the monster, and then you'll have something that drips and shows you exactly where the monster has headed, and you can follow the monster that way. But again, paintballs by themselves is not tracking. Not tracking. The last three here are going to probably ruffle a few feathers. So be prepared. Alatreon and Fatalis fights were peak. They were peak Monster Hunter. You may not like the mechanics. You may never have beaten them solo or in a group or whatever. If you don't like the fight, you don't like the fight. I don't like a good many fights in Monster Hunter. I think Levisioth sucks. I do not like fighting Levisioth. I think most of the low-end monsters, their fights are not good. They have quirks that make them interesting, but their fights themselves are kind of boring for a lot of the low-end monsters. So like take in Wilds coming up, Chatacabra. Boring fight. Boring fight. But Alatreon and Fatalis, peak. Fight me. Next, Clutch Claw was good. Clutch Claw was good. We were just butthurt for two reasons. One, it nerfed every set that we made prior to Iceborne with Wex. Every set basically ran Weakness Exploit, and it gave you 50% extra affinity on weak spots for level 3. With Clutch Claw, it did 30% then, and you'd have to tenderize the weak spot to get the extra 20. So we were butthurt about that. This is my theory on why we hate it. So that I think we got butthurt about. And this was me included. I hated Clutch Claw before, but I've come around since playing World Iceborne again that I don't think is bad. I think it was good. I would think the way that we played it was bad. The other way that kind of ruined it for us was the fact that we always have to play optimally. Again, going back to that optimal garbage from before. You don't always have to tenderize. Yes, you're not doing max damage, but unless you have a perfect build, you're not doing max damage. Unless you have Fatalis armor, you're not doing max damage. That's another thing. Fatalis armor's fine. Stop complaining about Fatalis armor. you're not doing max damage without that stuff, okay? You don't have to tenderize. You don't have to wallbang. Doing so does help, but if you don't want to engage with that, you don't have to. And yes, you're being nerfed because you're not doing max damage. You know what else you're being nerfed on? If you play Hunting Horn, you're being nerfed. If you're playing Gunlance in endgame, you're being nerfed. Just play Longsword. Just play Bowgun. Then you're not nerfed. Tell me I'm wrong. Stop complaining that you're nerfed because you don't want to deal with a mechanic. Just don't deal with it if you don't want to deal with it. It's fine. You don't have to deal with every mechanic. It's there if you want it. It's, if you don't want it, just leave it alone. I don't think we all have to be fighting optimally. I don't think we all have to be fighting optimally to have fun. And if you have to be doing optimal damage to have fun, I don't think you're playing the game because you like, I don't know, you like the game for the game itself. I think you're just trying to get through it as fast as possible. I think you're trying to kind of, I don't know, showboat for other people. Just play it how you want. Clutch Claw is fine. It brought a lot of good into the game. Just stop trying to play it optimally and enjoy it for what it is, and I think you'll have a better time with it. And I'd be fine with it coming back. Hate me. Last one. And I'm going to get real close for this. Plesioth's hitbox in the old games was good. Fight me. So Plesioth back, it was introduced in Gen 1, first game. So back in Gen 1, the quests were on cycles. They were in other generations as well. They're just not anymore for the most part. So they were on cycles, so you would not get to fight every monster all the time. Like sometimes the quest would not be there, you couldn't do it. But when the quest was there, I fought Plesioth every time as a kid. Every time. I loved that fight. I'd say probably the worst part about that fight was having to farm frogs. But then you learn there's frogs right outside the zone that he spawns in. So it's fine. So the reason I say Plesioth's hitbox was fine was once you learn it, you can play around it. Oh, that's a bad argument. Okay. Yeah, it's a bad argument, but you know what? Would any of us care anything about Plesioth if the hitbox wasn't what it was? Would Plesioth be a legend like Plesioth is without the janky hitbox? That janky hitbox is Plesioth. That's like people saying that picking up Poogie gives you extra rewards. We all know it doesn't, but it's the lore. It's part of it now. We all say it. We all get new hunters into it. Gypsaros actually faking its own death and then getting new hunters to go in there. It's the lore that we use, that we have fun with. It's part of why we play the games. It's the quirkiness, okay? Plesioth hitbox is goated at this point. You can't change Plesioth hitbox now. Capcom, if you ever see this, if anyone's ever said this before, don't fix Plesioth. Leave it. I want it janky. I want it to remain the legend that it is. It's a troll, and I love it so much. That's the last one. So with that, I will say thank you. if you made it to this point. I really do appreciate it. Uh, I am a small channel yet, so I really get excited when I see people watch the videos. Um, it makes my day. So even when I get comments that are opposing to my own uh, thoughts and ideas, um, I enjoy talking with you guys and commenting back. Uh, it's it's enjoyable to me. So please remember to, if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me how full of shit I am about Plesios Hitbox, or tell me how right I am about elemental weapons. But until next time, you guys have a good rest of your day, a good evening, good night, and we'll see you next time. Bye.